Turned out to be a beautiful Sunday in Colorado, so I took a drive out west of Colorado Springs to a little spot in the mountains just south of Pikes Peak. Out here I'm going to do a little bit of shooting. I've got a couple of rifles and a handgun and some suppressors. So it's just a little bit of a demo video that I wanted to do, kind of a comparison of shooting suppressed versus unsuppressed, different types of ammo. This is not going to be the best suppressor demo video that you've ever seen. All I'm shooting on is an iPhone. I have no external microphone. You can hear there's some wind. You can probably hear that stuff whipping through the trees and the hills behind me. I can't really do much about that. I'm coming off of a head cold, so my voice probably sounds a little more like Kermit the Frog than it normally does. But really, I'm just out here having some fun. Thought I'd record it. It might be useful to some people, or interesting at least. I don't know, maybe. You can see I'm wearing my Attic Brewing Company t-shirt, given to me by a very cool girl that I know. Her brother owns this brewery out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've had some of their stuff. It's pretty good. So I guess let's get to shooting. Have some fun. Today we're going to take a look at a rimfire rifle here. This is a primary weapon system, PWS T3 Summit rifle. This rifle is based on a biathlon type toggle action. So it's manual, open and close. It uses Ruger 1022 magazines, stocks, and barrels. So anything that's compatible with a 1022 in the realm of a stock magazine or barrel should work with this. I've got an aftermarket. This was not a factory PWS stock. I think it came with a Hogue originally. Man, I can't remember where I got this one, but it's a laminate thumbhole stock. Everything else I think is factory except for a few small parts from PWS. So that's their carbon fiber shrouded tension barrel. The action, the trigger, it's all factory. I did add an extended magazine release down here. And then it's got a Nikon 3-9 Pro Staff scope. And we are going to be shooting this guy. We've got a couple of suppressors here. We're going to see what it sounds like with both the Silencerco SS Sparrow and the SWR Spectre 2. And we'll be shooting it unsuppressed with high velocity, hypersonic ammo, and standard velocity CCIs. First, I'll be shooting the PWS rifle unsuppressed. I'll be shooting both hypersonic and subsonics, and they'll alternate. They'll go 5 rounds of each, hypersonic, subsonic. What we'll be shooting next, still the PWS T3 Summit rifle, except this time I've attached the SWR Spectre 2 suppressor to it. We'll be shooting 10 rounds through here. 5 rounds will be CCI max or mini mags hypersonics. Those will be the first 5 rounds. The second 5 rounds will be CCI standard velocity, which should be subsonic. PWS T3 Summit rifle. This time I've attached the Silencerco SS Sparrow to it. Just like last time, it'll be 10 total rounds. The first 5 will be CCI mini mags, and the second 5 will be the CCI standard velocity. The next rifle we'll be taking a look at today is a Ruger gun sight rifle. This one's in 308. It's the stainless steel version with an 18.5-inch barrel. It's going to have a Vortex 1:4 optic on it, 24mm objective, and we're going to be shooting it with, I'll shoot some rounds unsuppressed, and then I'll also shoot it with the Silencerco Saker 7.62 suppressor. This is the Ruger gun sight in 308. I'm going to be shooting 3 rounds unsuppressed. This is the Ruger gun sight rifle in 308. This time it will have the Silencerco 7.62 Saker attached. So with that, you see I wasn't wearing hearing protection on that one. I've never shot this setup without hearing protection. I had it in the one ear, but not this one. I have no ringing of the ears or anything. There's no boom coming out at the end of the rifle. There's that crack that you'll hear of the bullet breaking the sound barrier. But, you know, if you're hunting with this, I would have no problem, you know, touching off a few rounds. I probably wouldn't sit there and shoot round after round at the range like this with it. But, you know, if you're just taking a couple of shots, this is hearing safe in my opinion. There were just 2 rounds left in that box of 308, so let's go ahead and use them up. This, I honestly, when I first bought this 308, I bought this thing with the intention of using it as a suppressor hose. It was quite a while, a couple of years, before I actually got my 30 caliber can. I didn't really like shooting this gun too much without the silencer, but now with the silencer, if I go to the range or something with this is a gun that I take, and I hate that 308 is so darn expensive compared to, like, you know, 22 or 9mm or something, because I mean, if I go prone with this gun, I can just sit there and shoot it all day. It's very comfortable, very enjoyable to shoot. So I highly recommend these. The next firearm we're going to be taking a look at today is a Fabrique Nationale FNP-45 Tactical. I got this guy in trade a couple of months ago. I've never actually shot it. A guy that I work with, we're both into guns, and he knows I'm selling a bunch of my stuff. Well, I had a couple rifles he was interested in, and he said, you know, I know you've been interested in that FNP I've got. Would we be able to work out a trade? That's pretty much the only thing he could have offered other than cash, because I really have been wanting to try one of these out. So I've never shot it before. This will be the first time. If you don't know about these FNs, the FNP, I think it's now the FNX. This is a little bit older model, but these things are ready-made from the factory to use with a suppressor. They've come with a threaded barrel. The sights are tall so that you can see your sight picture over the top of the suppressor when you've got it installed. It's a polymer frame. Everything's completely ambidextrous. The magazine release, the slide release, the safety. This is a safety and a decocker, so you can carry this thing cocked and locked, double action, single action. It's a very versatile pistol. It also has interchangeable back straps, and it actually comes with this whole kit. So it's got this really nice case that it comes with, little storage compartments. It actually has a sleeve for your suppressor here, and then it comes with 3 15-round magazines. So that thing's packing 15 rounds of 45 ACP. That's quite a wallop. So what we're going to be doing here, I've never shot it. Since 45 is naturally subsonic, I'm just going to shoot a few rounds through it unsuppressed, and then we'll throw the silencer on there. And what we're using here is a Silencerco Octane 45 HD. And we'll see how she sounds suppressed. So here we've got the Fabrique Nationale FNP-45 Tactical. I'll be shooting 10 rounds through it unsuppressed. Very easy shooting gun. Slide didn't lock back on that last round. A little bit surprised with that, but man, that thing, there's no recoil, very smooth shooter. So we'll throw the suppressor on there and see how that sounds. So now we'll shoot the FNP-45 Tactical with the Silencerco Octane 45 HD suppressor mounted. See how that sounds. Man, that is that is really nice. So I was 10 rounds of 45. I've got just an ever so slight sound, a little tiny ring or something. But I'll tell you, the vast majority of my centerfire handgun collection is 9mm. I've never been a huge fan of the 45 just because it's more expensive to shoot. But once I got a suppressor, man, the 45 is... You know, you see these silencers in movies and on TV and stuff, and in real life, they're never that quiet. The only way that you can be quiet is with a manual action 22 rifle using subsonic ammo. That is movie quiet. But these 45s, a 45 ACP handgun, through a good suppressor, it really is pretty darn quiet too. I really enjoy shooting. So now the 45s, my 308, I like that so much more with the suppressor too. So it kind of sucks because these larger calibers that are kind of loud and stuff, they're a lot more fun if you have a suppressor. So it gets a little more expensive to shoot when you start shooting those bigger calibers. But yeah, this is a really good setup. I like this thing a lot. And the next firearm I'm going to be taking a look at today is the Ruger PC Carbine in 9mm. This is a takedown gun, as you can see here. And what this is, it didn't come with this bag. This is actually from a 1022 takedown case. But this gun fits great in here. It has spare magazines, including the 33-round Glock factory magazine here. You can see I've got a red dot sights mounted on there, and then you've got storage up here too. So this is a really neat setup. I do have the Glock magwell adapter in there instead of using the Ruger SR9 magazines. So what I'll be doing with this one today, I'm going to shoot both suppressed and unsuppressed. I'll be shooting some 115 grain and some 147 grain reloads. Now, typically these 147s are supposed to be subsonic. The time I brought this rifle out and tested it, though, up here, they actually were going hypersonic. So I don't know if it's because I'm at a pretty high altitude just south of Pikes Peak here. So it may be the air is less dense up here. They're going hypersonic or something. I'm really not sure. So we'll see what happens with it today. The suppressor we'll be using is a Silencerco Octane 45 HD. And one thing, just a real quick note here, in case you don't know much about this stuff. So this is a handgun suppressor. And if you're shooting it on a semi-auto handgun, there's another video I just did with an FNP, I'll put a link to it, Tactical 45. If it's on a semi-auto handgun, that silencer's on the end of the barrel that reciprocates. It moves back and forth. So in order to help the weapon cycle, it has to have this thing called a Nielsen device. This spring in here will actually go inside the suppressor, and that's what mounts on the gun. And this device allows the weapon to cycle properly. And I've never had a malfunction with the suppressor on any of the several different types of handguns I use with it. This rifle is a fixed barrel, so it doesn't need this Nielsen device. So what you do is you buy, and you always require different adapters for your different calibers of handguns. They all have different thread pitches and stuff. This one's for a 45 ACP. But since this barrel doesn't reciprocate, doesn't move, you just go to Silencerco or whoever your suppressor manufacturer is, and you purchase a fixed mount. So this goes on, just screws in there, and there's nothing moving inside there. The suppressor's just a fixed can at that point, just like you'd have on a 22 or something. So we'll take a look at this one. I'll get it all set up, and we'll put some rounds down range. So what we'll take a look at now is the Ruger PC Carbine in 9mm. First, I'm going to be shooting this unsuppressed. I'm going to shoot 10 rounds through it. 5 of them will be 115 grain. 5 of them will be 147 grain. And they'll alternate. The first round will be 115, then the 147, and they'll alternate back and forth like that, just to see if we can tell any difference between the two of them. And then after I do that, we'll put a suppressor on there and do the same thing. Shoot both rounds through there and see what we hear. Oh, I did want to mention, so I'm just shooting this with just kind of like a cheaper red dot. It's a Sig Sauer STS 081. I think this came with some Sig rifle I bought years ago. And I'm actually using PMag 12 magazines here, made for the Glock. This does have the Glock mag adapter in here, but I'm not using Glock factory mags. I have tested these PMag 12s. I've got a couple of them. With this rifle, not a terrible lot, a couple hundred rounds, and I've never had any malfunctions. The bolt always locks back on the last round for me, no feed problems, so I'm pretty impressed with them. So we'll use those here. Go ahead and get started. So as you can see, the bolt did lock back on the last round there, and I was mistaken in that. I do want to correct that. The first round you heard was actually the 147, and you could hear it was a lot quieter than the 115. So, and you could hear that quieter alternating there. So the 147s, they're supposed to be subsonic, and I think as I mentioned in kind of the preview to this, when I shot up here last time, they seem to be going hypersonic. So we'll see how it sounds. I've got hearing protection on now, so I know it'll sound a lot different, but I'm going to throw a suppressor on there now, and then we'll see how it sounds with that. So now we're going to take a look at the Ruger PC Carbine 9mm. I've put on the Silencerco Octane 45 HD with its fixed barrel mount. And we're going to shoot 10 rounds again, just like we did unsuppressed. And like last time, the first round is going to be the 147 grain, second round 115, and it'll alternate like that through the magazine. And I'm using the PMag Glock 12 rounders again. So see what kind of sound difference we hear. So I think you could hear, I know I could hear with the hearing protection on. I forgot to take it out, so I'll probably shoot a few more rounds just because I like to know how it sounds without the hearing protection. But those 147s I think were quieter. It sounded like some of them might have gone supersonic, but some of them didn't. So this is a really neat setup. I really, really like this. I was looking at getting one of those Marlin Camp 9 rifles that I think they made maybe back in the 80s. It's an older gun, and I was going to have it set up for a suppressor like this, but I just never did it because I read so many things about how like the buffers wear out on them, and parts can be hard to get, and then they use the Smith & Wesson 3rd Gen mags. I shared it with the 5946, so I had a couple of those pistols, and I thought it'd be a neat setup. Well, I never did it, and then Ruger came out with this PC carbine, and I'm like, oh, I got to grab that because I have a couple of Glock 19s, and like, wow, that's a great thing to have. So yeah, I've had this thing for a couple months, and I haven't shot it a whole lot, but I really enjoy it. The whole takedown aspect of it. It's got good sights that it comes with, a peep sight here in the rear, and then a winged front sight there. You mount your optics on there. I've never had any issues with it jamming. Accuracy seems pretty good. I mean, it's not a target rifle, but you know, it does what it needs to do. So yeah, for a neat little suppressor host, these PC carbines are pretty nice, and they come factory threaded, which is really nice. Some of them, you can get them unthreaded too, but it does come with factory threads, which is really nice. And I think at their price point, they really offer a lot of value. So yeah, I recommend one if you're interested in a 9mm carbine. So I brought the Ruger PC carbine 9mm back out. I wanted to shoot it without hearing protection, see what it sounds like. We've got the PMag 12 rounder in here again. I actually did load it with 12 rounds this time. It has 5 rounds of 115 grain in there first, and then 7 rounds of the 147 grain. And I did want to make a note about that 147 grain, how some of them may be going supersonic or something. Those are LAX reloads. So I don't know if maybe that has any effect on it. Maybe some of those rounds have a little more powder or something. I'm really not sure. And then once again, I am up at altitude just south here of Pikes Peak, so that could be having an effect, because when it comes to suppression, all the ambient conditions in the air affect all that stuff. Your temperature and your air pressure and air density and all that kind of stuff. So we'll pop 12 more rounds through this thing to see what she sounds like. So there's a definite difference. I don't know how well it comes out on the camera, but there's a definite difference to the shooter between those 115s and those 147s. The 115s, that crack, those 5 rounds, like, I wouldn't want to shoot much more than that without hearing protection on. I don't really have any ringing or anything, but I can tell like if I'd shot much more, it would have started to ring. But those 147s really aren't bad at all. I could shoot those unsuppressed, I think. For a while, but there is a definite difference to the shooter between the 115s and the 147 grains, and I keep throwing those numbers out in case you don't know. So that's referring to the weight of the bullet. Grain is a weight measurement. I think it's 1/7000th of an ounce, if I remember correctly. So when I say 115 grain, that's talking about the projectile, the part that's actually coming out of the barrel. It weighs 115 grains, or it weighs 147 grains. I was shooting both through it. So the reason we want that 147 grains in this instance is that heavier bullet should travel more slowly and hopefully not break the sound barrier and make our suppressed setup a little bit quieter. So just in case you didn't know what those numbers mean, there's a little explanation of it. Hopefully I didn't screw that up. Yeah, got the Ruger PC carbine back out for another magazine full, because it's a fun gun to shoot. And I just wanted to shoot a round or a magazine full of the 147 grain projectiles, just to see how they did, see if I was getting any difference, maybe some breaking the sound barrier or not, see how it felt on the ears. Really, I just wanted to have some fun to shoot this gun some more. Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a really fun one.